And as the telecom industry accelerates towards 6G, AI is no longer an enhancement layer. It's really becoming the foundation. This panel explores the transformative architectural shifts required to support AI-native 6G infrastructures, where intelligence is built into every layer of the network. Joining this session are Mohammad Sharifan. He's lead architect, group technology, data and AI, that at Deutsche Telekom. And next to him is Geoff Hollingworth. He's chief marketing officer at Rakuten Symphony. And finally on the end, we have Rahul Atri. He's chief product officer, that at Aira Technologies. And gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good to be here.
Thanks for all of you being here today. Of course, we're here at DTW 25 here in Copenhagen, talking about a number of topics in the AI space, of course, automation as well. Mohammad, I want to start with you, if you don't mind. Certainly in the aforementioned introduction, I mentioned these fundamental architectural changes that are necessary for these AI native 6G infrastructures. Can you kind of set the stage about what those are?
Very good question. Thank you very much for that. So, in the next level of next generation of networks, AI will play definitely a big role. The complexity is going to raise massively, and we will have a huge amount of data we need to process, and we also need to. And the rules-based applications are not going to help a lot. So we need to go definitely for AI native and more AI. So AI native needs or requires a different way of architecture. So we need to consider, especially when we want to focus on autonomy, full autonomy in the 6G, we also need to think about it, how the AI models will be developed, trained, and also inferenced. So we will have pillars like distributed inferencing, and different way of data pipelining, automated data pipelining, and proper life cycle management to be able to leverage the power of AI in the entire landscape. Yeah.
Geoff, are these fundamental changes? Anything to add?
I think what we're seeing in the world is that this is fundamentally changing every single aspect of any kind of business. So it would be very bizarre if it wasn't fundamentally going to change how we do it. I think the question we have to ask as an industry, is that something that we are immediately adapting to and trying to normalize, or is it something that we have to wait 10 years for a standard to tell us how we should all do it together?
Rahul, anything to add before I move on?
Yeah, sure. I would say that using AI or having AI, integrated part of the networks and organization goes hand in hand. It's not only the network that's going to change the life cycle. I like to call it as programmable networks. Programmable networks have two parameters to measure. One is how autonomous the network is with the application which are AI native, which can run the network. And the other part is the organization which are AI native. How many AI tools your organization using? How is your organization designed around agents? Because it's very soon going to be really part of our organization. You'll see virtual employees already part of this. So I see it as a two-pillar strategy rather than only one. So architecture needs to have both of these connected, and then only AI can become reality in telecom.
Rahul, I'm going to stick with you. Certainly future RAN networks are being implemented with these machine learning models. Can you give us, for the audience anyway, can you give us maybe an example of what that is?
To be very honest, ML is not new. AI is not new. There's been from the decades. What has become much more easier is to how to use these natively into a life cycle. We have been going through an evolution like we were talking before the session started. It's the same journey. People started realizing that data is value. Then the data containers and data platforms evolved, where you can store a lot of data. How do you store that flexibly? Cloud native architecture evolved, where you have cloud storing a lot of data. After that, you started building ML models and AI pipelines on top of it, seeing patterns and results. The next step to that is actually using AI to close the loop as well. I think that's what we are hitting. Stitching all this technology now has become very, very simple, very platform-like. Every organization can do it on own. With GenAI, what we are starting to realize this is every RF engineer, every performance engineer, every NOC engineer can use those technologies and build their own capabilities much more faster. And hence, I think the only fundamental change is that people are becoming more AI native and can use that much more faster. You don't have to depend on specialists coming from outside, because whatever telco has been building is a layer above layer for the ultimate platform to make AI native organizations.
Geoff, machine learning models in future RAN networks, anything to add?
Yeah, I think Rahul said something really interesting in the sense that the surfacing of the data is a fundamental. These models are going to be as good as the understanding of the data. And perhaps what we're going to start seeing through the application of then the Gen AI is a completely different interface to actually how we're interfacing between the humans and to actually the machines that we're dealing with. That's going to be as radical as the smartphone change. I think the people that get that interface correct actually will own the future business of how best to run networks.
What I would like to add on top, thank you very much, is the AI is going to change a lot from that one, but also it brings a little bit of complexity in that. So even the managing that AI is going to be very interesting to see how we are going to ensure the life cycle of the AI and to make sure that also the AI is up and running properly and the right place. So these are going to add a little bit of complexity more on top. So we need to consider on that, otherwise we will then run into the...
Yeah, I think it's really important what Mo said there about, in actual fact, the fundamentals of making sure the AI is doing what you want and you have that right, like, securities and guarantees. Any vendor that comes to you that magically says that they're going to give you agentic AI that delivers a future haven't really understood the challenges of orchestrating these virtual workers. It's the same as humans. They're as good as the instructions you give them. And you might think your instructions are really good until they come back with a completely weird response. That's no different from me and you. You know, I've given people tasks where I thought it was absolutely clear what I wanted. But I wasn't clear enough. So I think this workforce that's half human, half machine is the future. But I think we're going to have the same problem with AI agents as we have with human agents.
Interesting.
I agree. It's all about that, what we call it as internally tax. It's like trust, building the alignment, and then the execution. So how do you trust the, as Mo and Geoff were saying, how do you trust the technology part of it? How do you align, whether via RAGs or fine-tuning or by prompt engineering, to make that machine understand that what you're intending to get as an action out of it, and then the actual execution start. The measurement of this whole journey is very important, because unlike a specific action, the AI might give a new action every time you talk to it. Maybe a different possibilities of solutions. So how do you get to know that what your intentions are actually converted into real actions and solutions is very important. The ML models, the AI models, actually, I think that part is solved already. There's enough of the technology existing, but how do you take that to a specific use case, bring the right value out of it is very important. Like we have data problem is solved. Models, I think that problem completely it's solved. But how do you package that, integrate that into vertical solution to give an outcome and measure that? Because with measurability comes trust. Without that, anyone can say 95% efficiency or 100% performance gains. I don't think that's right. As Geoff was saying, it is gonna take time to measure. And once you trust the technology, I think this technology has got all the elements to move much more faster, rather than the journey of cloud or automation which we have seen before.
On a data side, we still need to work a little bit on that. It's not that everything's solved, but okay, because we still have the issue that we talk about harmonization on a data part, but we still have the problem that from a different part of a network, from the different vendors in the network, we get a slightly different way how we gather the data or how the data is produced, and we still have a big issue on the quality part of it.
Yep.
So if we can even use like this collaboration on the TMF and other areas, to emphasize more on having a common platforms and common data models and push it, that is going to help a lot in AI, because if you want to establish more AI solutions and AI models around us and don't work on the data parts, we will definitely fail, but that's not going to work.
Agree. And we were talking this just before this session that what I meant with data part is the technology exists to
absolutely
to create your data products, data catalogs on the runtime. It's also existing to build your data governance. I think one part which all of us need to solve telecom is how to build that knowledge out of data, how to label that data.
Exactly.
I think we have not solved the labeling part, and hence the AI adaptation is not there.
Yeah, so it's interesting if we go back, because the focus of this panel is something from 5G to 6G, but what's really nice is the fact we're not speaking about 5G or 6G. Yeah. That discussion about data normalization and actually having a common understanding, so we can all speak the same language and it doesn't matter if we're coming from any part of the world, I think that would be so tremendously empowering for the industry to focus on.
I think we need to change the title of this session.
Yeah, and by the way, we didn't speak about standards. We never talked about even the protocols of data, right? It's actually not saying that PM comes in SFTP or alarms comes in TCP or some kind of alerts and other things, but we're talking about how does a machine or AI or human understand that data form and say what is the significance of this data value. When we see a performance counter, when we see a telemetry, when we see a fault, how to use that to build a certain use case and a value out of data, and that as a global standard so that it doesn't go from one operator to another operator is very important. Or maybe call it knowledge graph for that matter.
Absolutely. Knowledge graph, which includes actually the domain knowledge on that, otherwise it's going to be hard. Yes.
Geoff, certainly spectrum management and allocation is a topic we should cover. How is AI changing that approach, and are we already doing that?
Well, so coming to what Rahul said earlier, I mean, the way we've handled signals, like radio waves are signals. It is a data model. We've been doing AI and machine learning on radio since radio first existed. Now what we see with the application of more advanced modeling is tremendous gains we can make in the efficiency of... Radio is really interesting. You're trying to just get as clean a signal as possible with as many signals in a limited amount of space, and you're trying to reduce interference. We've done that with the mechanisms we've had to date. Now with AI, you can start to get 30% more spectrum utilization by continuously improving inside the actual radio systems. So that's something that we have been doing, we should be doing, and we can get more performance out of. But then from a standards point of view, to Rahul, and from spectrum management, we're still managing those things like the 1940s. We're giving away spectrum like across a whole swath of a geography. How do we actually start to inject these technologies into accelerating how we do standards? How do we do it to accelerate so that more of us can actually use spectrum dynamically, share it more, utilization? Because the spectrum's going up and up and up, the footprint's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I think it would be nice if we revisit. Mo, you said something before we got on. We had a great conversation before we came on here. We should have recorded that. But it's a bit like, how do we change how we do everything? That's the true definition of AI native. And that includes our processes, behaviors. We shouldn't be waiting 10 years for a standard. 2 years from now, we don't know what the world will look like.
Yeah.
6 months maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah. But to Geoff's point, a very important fact, right? The more cloud native approach got inserted and embedded into, the cost of cloud and the cost of resources reduced. The cost of compute reduced. In our case, in the spectrum world, the cost of spectrum is going up, even the footprint of the site is going down. It's actually reverse, right? I mean, you're talking about even the radios are getting more costly than other things. So somehow, when the technology is adapted, it should become much more simpler and much more easier or cheaper to adopt and get. But in our world, it's getting more complex, and somehow everyone keeps on saying that it is complex, even without trying and adopting and making it to production levels. We are saying spectrum and if you ask somebody, the number one use case they want to do, I think energy saving and spectrum efficiency is the first one that every operator will talk about. If you ask them that how much you're saving or gaining or how you're adapting, how many sites are on this, I don't think we'll get a unanimous answer because, and from a partner point of view or a startup point of view, how many spectrum efficiency models you want us to build? Because every operator have different spectrum, different partners, different channels, different frequency allocations. And there is no set of rules there. These are policies which are quite customized. This is knowledge for an operator which we all respect, but somehow it all need to come together and say, yeah, we really want to make measurability out of it.
Interesting.
What I would like to add on that is also even with the NTN, the complexity rate is not getting easier. So, but we also have the challenge that we need to address the customer demand over the different access points. So we talk about the multi-access also and say when the customer requires a service, we would like to offer the customer the service at the moment, at the place, and through the different access points to the customer without him considering how he receives the service. So AI will play a massively role to be able to manage it through all these different points, but still we have big way to go to be able to make it happen. Yeah.
CBRS was a step towards that on the dynamic network. I shall look where it is right now.
Yeah, this is not easy, because then now we're moving outside of our technology world into a government world, a country world. These processes, I mean, the spectrum meetings happen like once every 10, 15, 20 years. It's out of step with the speed of technology. The countries that are doing well are ones that have nationwide coordination over what they're doing. And it's a top-down kind of approach. The ones that are democratically trying to sort through the mess are struggling through a fragmented world. So there's a great place to have leadership at a country level and a regional level.
Can we also think about calling something, fundamentally different, like Mo, you were saying? There are networks inside a network. Rather than calling networks, call it connectivity. Connectivity, we have different pillars to say wireless, wireline, NTN, and otherwise. Though operators have all of these together, but these are different organizations, different business units, and these are different part of the network. Customer doesn't care, right? They just want to access whether it is a FWA or a NTN network. Or if the moment you're serving the use case, customer is happy.
So this is the number one thing that, if you ask me what drives me up the wall about our own industry, we talk about our industry as if there's one network in the world. Everybody outside our industry is continuously living through that multi-access journey. That's getting more. It's not getting less. I think we really need to embrace the fact it is networks, not network, and think about what should be standardized in a network and what needs to be focused on to work across networks.
But also we need a great collaboration between different operators and even the hyperscalers and service providers to be able to make that happen, the multi-access part. Otherwise, it's not going to work for the customers.
By the way, if you see, the life for a customer is getting super simplified. They have intent, they can chat now, or they can voice, and they expect the world, and it's their right to expect the world and the experience. On the operator side, it's getting complex. The networks, the access layers, the spectrum, the cost, the capex, the opex, then we have 4Gs, 5Gs all coming through. Life is not simple, right? And that's why I think our industry is in that drag mode and less creativity zone, because we're not spending enough time on creating new use cases. We're not thinking about what's next. Like any other industry, they keep on, there's a part of industry which is operational, which is like how to run the operations today. But there's part of industry which is thinking what's next. In our industry, we never think what's next beyond a 5G or a 6G. I think that era is done where we are thinking that 4G or a 5G will get us monetization. Look, we are.
So we have to ask ourselves, a common discussion I hear in the industry is that this 5G, 6G thing isn't working for us. It's not gone very well. It's not in line with the speed of innovation in the market anymore. Yet here we are, still doing the 5G and the 6G, and we don't seem to be able to stop it. There's almost like the momentum we have as an industry we can't break. I think there's an interesting question of, if we don't do those things, what does it look like? But if at the moment, it feels like we're going to carry on doing those things. And I think we will. At the moment, we're tracking not to a greater association with the market demand, but something that, is less connected.
Coming back to the point where you mentioned, we introduced that this year, even on the MWC, the vision what we had called the Reimagining Network, that we would like to offer services to all of our customers individually in a kind of a very customer-centric way, talking about programmable networks, we talk about multi-access, we talk about 0 bit and 0 watt. So these are fundamental elements that we need to consider to be able to build the entire network, which includes massive collaboration with the entire ecosystem. And it really helps, otherwise it's not going to work with just simple companies, not going to be able to do that. And really to address that point regarding the customer is also important. What is the demand of the customer?
Precisely.
What do they need precisely, exactly, and the place where they need it. And to say, okay, the customer doesn't have to deal with what kind of products do I offer. The customer should be able to even express the demand what they have, and I have to deal with that. What I want, how can I offer it properly to the customer at the right place in the right moment?
Yep.
And these are stuff we need to
service packages
collaborate on that to build it properly. Yes.
Yeah, service packages. And one point which I want to add, Geoff, and more to your point, is that it's not only the radio technology, right? It's actually what gets delivered to the customer and what they're expecting. If we are driving that from that perspective, Maybe we'll solve the world with 5G. Maybe we'll solve the world with 6G or 7G, but we know where we're getting at. But if we look at these problems at silos, for example, great, we're doing 6G, which is sense-aware networks, which is AI embedded. How does the operations embrace it? Because half of the Open RAN network deployments are slow to move because operation doesn't feel that it is 5 nines, right? I mean, so we need to see that as organization, as customers, and then see what part of that 6G landscape makes sense for our network and our customers in what geography. I think in that way, we'll be able to move much more faster. I like the approach what, for example, Hugging Face does in the alternate world. They have all the models listed.
The alternate world.
The alternate world, obviously. They have all the models listed, but they have very specific capabilities to say this is a sustainable model. This is a 2 billion parameter model, good for this, but doesn't do this. Maybe there's a catalog of 5G or 6G then, to say this is what this technology and the standard offers. As an operator, what are service packages you are offering to your customer? Pick these and build your network.
And I mean, this is interesting because from a Rakuten point of view, it joined this industry less from the pleasure of building a 5G network. It was more about integrating the awareness of people into the rest of the digital ecosystem. And now 50% of the ARPU is coming from non-connectivity revenue. The vision is that 100% of the revenue comes from non-connectivity, and connectivity is part of what gets delivered, you know, as a cost of delivery. It's a bit like Amazon Prime. So I don't think we have a 5G problem. I think we have a business reimagined problem.
Yep.
And a customer promise problem. And then let's come back in and decide then which technologies work the best. And the more we can do that together as one versus separate islands, then we'll be more efficient at that.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
For example, if even if we build the more cloud-native network, even if we build the more dynamic networks, by the way, the product catalog is still static to the customer. They can still buy a SIM card and a phone, and a Wi-Fi connection and a wireless or wireline connection. That is static sitting there. Till the time that layer becomes dynamic, everything under the hood from CFS to RFS, even if it is the most automated thing, the customer is not going to see that. The customer today, I think they want their intents to be heard and intents to be converted into action. The action could be a dynamic network, dynamic service assurance, quality of service, or the cheapest package out there.
Well, the title is Building the AI Native Foundations of 6G. It should just be Building the AI Native Foundations, period.
Yeah.
Right. Real quick fire question for you, Rahul. We'll go down the line here. Cybersecurity and zero trust networks, the impact of AI networks on those. Real quick, briefly.
I think we already are looking into all aspects of, telco is not easy problem to solve with security. And it's a perimeter. First, you see what is the perimeter to the entire network. Then you come into each data source. Then you talk about what is exposing outside. I think it's a very, very serious problem to solve. But in AI world, it also gets abstracted because the model itself is a black box. You can secure as much of your data access, data governance. You can lock down all the things which are possible. But the model is also a black box which comes from somebody. You're trying to leverage. Even the best of the partners today are using a strategy, whether they're going with an enterprise OpenAI kind of model or by Llama models. But these are things which are coming as technology embedding as well. There are guardrails to be built. For example, I know a customer which has internally embedded a lot of learning into the model. Even if the software code, they get vetted, they get tested. There are possibilities to put more guardrails. I think it starts with layers, what we talked about, data layer, foundation model layers, and then the use cases layer and what get exposed. Because we know that everyone is using AI in the organizations. How you structure where the models are hosted, where the technology or the APIs are getting called on the internet, all those things are, so there is no one answer. But one thing which is very important is, like Mo was also saying, who's monitoring the AI? Who's monitoring the platforms is very important. I think in the industry we call that as MLOps. So having those systems and guardrails, and that's part of a new kind of organization. Maybe it falls under CISO, but it's a very important aspect of the networks or AI native networks to be built.
But with the help of AI, we also can do the cybersecurity even better. Like we will have the chance to analyze faster, it has a chance to bring more variables and more data together to be able to identify the issues and even solve it faster than that. I think that's a very good challenge also, but also a good option.
Good challenge.
And you also addressed the MLOps, absolute. So the life cycle and ensuring the life cycle even for management of the network and the AI elements are getting harder and harder, because when we talk about distributed AI in the entire landscape, we also need to be able to ensure how we take care of that the AI and the right place is really working properly.
Yeah. And then I think it's also a trust problem, where you say you don't want the organizational data to go out to an LLM. I'm very sure they have all the data sources in the world today to learn. If you asked ChatGPT today, you write TPTH, it will understand you're talking about throughput. If you write speed, it will understand throughput. If you just give numbers, it will understand. So I've tested it myself. They're pretty smart and learning every day. I think we need to see and say who owns the security of what problem. So LLM, who is owning the LLM part layer, they get the security. Who owns the data platform, they own the security. But again, it's an ecosystem evolving, and we need to work together on it.
So maybe the last final comment. Every powerful technology that's introduced can be used for good, or it can be used for bad.
Yeah.
And AI is tremendously powerful.
Sure.
This isn't a kind of blip. This is a game-changing technology. The people who work for bad are embracing AI with such creativity, speed, and innovation, because the rewards are so large. We have to embrace AI on the side of the good in defensive. There's no way humans are going to cope with the attack of the patterns coming in, either just to humans in terms of not trusting anything anymore, but also in terms of massive attacks on a network. So humans have gone. It's like high-speed trading. No one now trades with bits of paper and a phone. It's algorithms versus algorithms. We're already in that world. So if we're not already preparing to meet the challenge, then I think we're already behind here.
I like algorithm versus algorithm more than agent to agent.
That's a good place to end. I mean,
So Rahul, the algorithm, prefers, because Rahul's not actually here, he's superimposed. I'm just speaking to an empty chair.
Yeah, I wish.
well, the real
I have
question.
less travel.
Next year, I don't think we're here.
Yeah, I was going to say. Well, the real question is, how far out are we to that actually happening?
See, I think that's not a question to three of us, because we all agree what we want to achieve. But it's a question to larger industry. Rather than asking when it can happen, I think we all should give a timeline to all of us. Because if that's not happening, our industry is not going anywhere.
Okay.
We're going to be talking about the same thing. So if you want to put the hand down and say 2025 or 2026 or 2027, that's where the standard should align, the ecosystem should align, rather than talking. For example, I love the analogy when people say we are autonomous network level 3 through 3.5. Every operator in the world says the same. If you say what are the baseline, what are the measurability, everything is different. But when you come to a car world or automobile, ADAS 2, ADAS 3, ADAS 4 has a definition which is global standard. We don't even have that baseline. So I truly believe that as an industry, we should give a target to ourselves. And let's come back to that target and say we are there or not there. Technology exists, like we all are talking about, it exists. Is the mindset to say, yeah, we're going to use the technology for good and we're going to make this timeline happen. I personally believe as a product person, I'm always driven by the targets and end result. You can have to say, yeah, I'm going to generate code using AI, or I'm not going to use. I'm going to use AI application from somebody else. Build or partner or embrace, it's perfectly fine. I think timeline should not come from us. Timeline should come from all the industry players, and we all will gather ourselves and actually deliver it for the operators like DT.
Since you paused,
Go ahead.
this is just a random statement. Number one use case last year for AI globally was content generation, text generation. Number one use case this year is self-help and therapy. So something, there's a relationship developing with machines that is actually different from before, that's very, very real. People say, it's just an algorithm and but there's a relationship. I only half jokes. I mean, like Rahul feels like an algorithm to me sometimes.
Yeah.
This technology is different.
He meant well when he said that.
Because it has knowledge. No, I do. I like algorithms. I prefer algorithms to people who are a bit more predictable.
Go on.
There is something incredibly game-changing that's going on that's bigger than one industry, and I think we are the ones that that enable this, first we have to make sure that we're transforming as quickly as possible, and then we do need to build a platform where everyone else is safe on top of that.
So CMO would be an algorithm next year?
If you could make that, if you could generate that, it's not that hard apparently.
It's the number one use case last year.
Let me give you a
Content
clue.
generation.
Big, huge, I can solve your problems.
Yeah. Or you can have one CMO running all the networks.
That would be interesting. But there are still a couple of things we need to address to say, okay, there are a lot of tool stack out there. We have a lot of opportunities. There are a lot of solutions standalone that are existing. We still need to think about it, how we can scale it up properly, and talking about platforms rather than single solutions. But we don't, as you also mentioned that in the product vision, we also need to think about it, what is the business impact? So we always need to say, we will use AI in different manners. We also need to think about AI native. We also need to push it massively. But we also need to think, what is the business impact that we want to achieve?
Yeah, thank you.
Because at the end of the day, what matters for all of our us is the customer and what we can bring as a value to the customers. Otherwise, it's hard to monetize it. So if you are techie guys, we love to work with technologies. Yep. We love to experiment with that. We love to come with the next best AI models with solving some technical issues, which is a lot of fun. I love that. I'm a techie guy too. But I also need to take care of that. Really, what kind of impact do I generate, and how can I make it towards my customer properly so that they really have a benefit out of it. So from my perspective is, yes, we are not completely there. We have a lot to go. We still have single solutions for single problems somewhere, but we don't have a proper view on that, how the entire landscape should look like, how the entire platform thinking is going to be, that we can scale and in every dimension. So
I think more to your point, absolutely. That's where the operator is sitting today, right? I mean, and it's somehow fundamentally embedded from the layer one. When I say layer one, not the layer one of the radio, but the layer one, the network functions are super siloed. The management of network functions, super siloed. The data they generate, super siloed. And then the operation which happens on top of is super siloed. So it's years of practice baked into, and now when you try to get that all information, even the net inventory is super siloed. And hence the knowledge is super siloed. So I think Geoff was also talking about it. We see it from the top to say only 2 KPIs or 3 KPIs we want to achieve today is how to save money, more automation, how to make money, new monetization use cases, and how to stay technically ahead of the curve, which is like organization using real AI. If we take these 3 KPIs, I think we'll be good in defining how to generate that. But it has a lot to do with the organization embracing that as well. For example, let's look into year ahead, where an AI agent is able to do RF planning, is able to do anomaly detection and RCA, what we were presenting together in the Catalyst program, which is optimization, is able to do capacity forecasting, and it's able to generate reports, which is dashboards and key decision insights. What does an RF engineer and optimization engineer do at that time? That person, which is like 6 different teams now, become one person who's the owner of the business. What do I mean by owner is, his only KPI is managing these agents working together, but deliver one outcome, which is revenue per site. If we move into that fundamental mindset, I think we'll be a very good industry to work with.
I kind of agree with that, what you're saying. Yeah, we will have a lot of agents that will do a lot of stuff. That's just an interesting thing. But I still think that single person is not going to be one single person, because that single person should have a great domain knowledge, which is not that easy, because he also needs to be able to understand what these AI agents are generating and also validate it. So the another aspect what we need to consider is, if we have too many agents and the agents will make the decisions, how much trust do we put it there?
Yeah, exactly.
So
trust,
this is
alignment,
still
and execution. Yeah.
So the domain expertise is one thing that we don't have to get rid of. We need to think about it as important. From another perspective, we also need to be able to validate what the agents are doing.
The agents actually don't come overnight.
They don't come overnight. And how much trust can we put in that to say, okay, now I run my entire network in agents?
I agree.
It's still a way to go there.
Yeah. The domain expert. So for example, when I say this, obviously this is the end state. But the job of domain engineer now, for example, the RF optimization engineer, is to now train the agents or create AD/RCA solutions. When they feel perfectly aligned and build that kind of outcome, then they go production. So, but yeah, aligned.
It's going to be a big change. Yes, absolutely.
It's a big change. What I try to say is that if you don't dream or go for this end state, you don't take the first step in the right direction.
So an interesting question, and this has been the best 6G panel ever because we haven't spoken about 6G at all.
Geoff
What
loves
does-
it.
What's the future of the hybrid workforce look like from a total point of view? Because it's going to be a mixture of silicon-based workers and carbon-based workers, and they all have to be managed, and they all have to have competence development, and who is doing what. And I think those structures at the fundamental management level of our companies become very interesting. It'd be great to run scenario planning of what we think an ideal state looks like and how far away is that? Where are we in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Because humans, I do believe that AI is absolutely not going to replace humans, but AI will augment and empower humans to be 10 to 100x more capable. And there's no way we can do our business if that's not true, because complexity is increasing 10x to 100x. So we need to have a roadmap on that pragmatic AI introduction level almost, rather than the theory.
Rather than autonomous network levels, I think the AI native levels and maybe the end state, like we discussed, but how do we reach their milestone? I think that's a great measurement, and I think everyone would have a role to
That's
play
an
in that.
interesting thought. I like that. So saying AI native levels. Let's define that.
TM Forum is hearing.
Just very quickly before we go, Geoff, if AI networks are, and the foundation of AI networks are implemented at a pace that you're describing, and sky's the limit for telcos if that happens, can you just bullet point, I know you discussed this already, but just for the audience, a couple bullet points of what would prevent that from happening?
Well, so
What's the downside? Well, not the downside. What would prevent that process from happening?
I think what we have to avoid is focusing on the shiny objects that have the promise and the success without realizing the fundamentals of what is required to be playing in that scenario. Because at the moment, the good conversation I've heard from both Mo and Rahul is we're incredibly fragmented operationally, organizationally, and from a situational awareness because of the data.
Are standards included in that as well? Or
Well,
no?
so standards then should help us optimize those things after we understand what we're trying to do.
Okay.
It shouldn't try and define it in an academic, isolation 10 years from now, because it won't be right. That's the problem.
Okay.
So having fundamentally being the best in class at actual data management and streamlining and making sure that data is safe and secure and private, that's fundamental. We're not there yet as an industry. And you go lift up. You've got to get rid of organizational silos if we want to. Tesla didn't start by plugging a Ford and a VW and they reimagined what was required to have a car that could see, like a human. They even decided that the world is visual first, because that's how we navigate. So they got rid of LiDAR and they put cameras on. So they made design decisions that were aligned with a certain fundamental belief. I think we're putting the cart before the horse with the standards process.
Okay.
The tail is wagging the dog. We couldn't monetize location. How are we going to monetize sensing? We can technically do these things because we have them. That's not the problem. The problem is everything else around it, I think.
Anything to add?
I mean, one tangent to that is moving goalpost. I think in the industry, every conference we attend, every event every 6 months we have a different way of saying the same thing. The automation, the orchestration, the AI and others. I think, like Geoff said, the shiny object, the industry will evolve. The technology will keep on coming. We need to define what we are aiming for. Like Tesla always imagined the autonomous cars, right? They imagined software-driven car. They wanted to sell car which is loaded with software. Exactly what we want to do is the programmable connectivity or autonomous network. That stays as is. The technology is just an enabler.
Okay.
Maybe ML works for you fine, which is okay. Which is not going for the shiny object, which is GenAI, but if that gives you the result, go for it. If GenAI gives you result, go for it. But I think in telco, we have every budget cycle, we have a new transformation journey blueprint, and that's like moving the goalpost away.
Yeah.
That kills startups and innovators like us.
Yeah.
Because if you don't define the SLA or a success criteria, what are you chasing? startups are built around a very innovative culture, doing the result-oriented much more faster. I think, and that's where the startup embracing culture in telco. They say that startup comes to telecom for dying. I think that's the sole reason for it. If there is a success criteria, not going for shining objects and a static goalpost to achieve, I think technology exists.
Well, back to Mohammed's comment about collaboration. So
Yeah, that could be an interesting thing because that is something that we could also maybe address in the 6G. Because one of my hopes that we've been talking about the new way of working, new operating model, new way of doing the lifecycle management to be able to exactly ease the entire architecture one and be able to make it more flexible and easier to adopt for the new solutions, which is something could be an interesting point for a 6G discussion. Yes.
I think we must be reaching close to the end, and maybe 6G is ready tomorrow. We feel like we've been speaking quite a long time.
Yeah. After lunch.
I think one thing we should embrace, just to not feel like we're not doing very well. This is a really hard journey. I mean, there's no easy things here. In actual fact, in a survey, I can't remember which consulting company, telecom is adopting AI faster than other industries. We're actually doing very well. But we have to be ambitious about the challenge. It's a great place to be. Doing hard things well is where you can make great business.
Sure.
It's a great place to be, especially if you're completely unique in that space. So this looks good, but just coming back to the name of the panel, I don't think 6G is the answer.
Sure.
I think 6G might help after we know what the answer is.
6G is not the answer, but we could use the way how we are going towards the 6G to address a couple of pain points what we have or struggling points to be able to change it for the next architecture. That is the hope. I'm totally with you. It is not going to be the answer to all of our problems. We still need to do a lot of stuff. We also need to change it from the culture perspective in the organizations or in the companies around us, in the ecosystem, the way how we produce, how we work. But that could be one platform that we could use to be able to bring that change into the life.
Well, so if we could make 6G work for us in a different way, I think that's massive.
That is a massive thing.
It's just making that happen while we're doing everything else.
I think I'm going to let you guys go and break. I think there's some scraps left at lunch. Might be able to get some. Don't blame me, by the way. Rahul with Aira Technologies, we appreciate your time and your insight.
Thank you. No, I think we covered a lot. Great panel. Loved it. I think we should do more of these non-6G, non-5G. But I guess it is for you, Mo, to drive us as an industry. I think me and Geoff, we come from the technology background. We would love to support and solve it. But if we can, like we just discussed, define 6G overarchingly, overall what the output ROI we're expecting as an industry, I think we'll have a healthy win-win composition for the entire industry and we all make money.
Geoff Hollingworth, Rakuten Symphony, CMO, we appreciate your time and your insights as well.
Yeah, thank you. We're actually going to, as we progress through, what we're going to commit is have earrings, pierced ears, and we'll go through. So when we get to AI native level 6, have really big Johnny Depp earrings.
Mohammad Sharifan, and did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Yes.
Okay. I sure we're from the same place. I should pronounce it right. With Deutsche Telekom, we appreciate your time and your insight.
Thank you very
as well.
much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for the discussion. I really enjoyed that. And I'm really looking forward to the further collaborations and discussions on that topic. We still have a lot to do. There are a lot of new challenges that we need to address, but I think we are in a good position to change it. Thank you very much.
Enjoy your lunch.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.